to get into it, talk to us about the barriers to innovation for a country and also what lessons can be applied.
Okay, so we're diving right into it.
Yes.
Once again, it's great to be back. So barriers, I think, just for everybody else, I think it's good that we start with just defining what an innovation system kind of looks like. So innovation as the buzzword that a lot of people would like to use, it's basically just trying to establish creative ways of doing things. It's not necessarily reinventing the wheel, but taking what is a problem and creating solutions for that. So the barriers to that, much like a lot of things, it's miseducation. If, for example, a country's citizens are not well prepared in understanding a certain type of technology, that can be a complete hindrance to the effectiveness of such. Education, lack of education, lack of mindsets are also like moving towards just having a growth set of mindset, which also ties in terms of how a certain country may be set up. And then thirdly, infrastructure, be it like digital infrastructures that are lacking, lack of finances to support such infrastructures, and externally looking at it from maybe a macro environment where political influences may be potentially affecting a country.
And what are the benefits of having a national culture that fosters curiosity?
Well, for one, it sends a loud signal to like just the external markets as well, that a country is responsive to what's happening within its sphere of operations. So again, just going back to what I said in the first part, it's once you get to understand that a lot of people within a country are creative or they are really moving towards a knowledge economy, that can open a lot of doors as far as just like foreign investments, because no person wants to invest in a country that is not conducive to sustain such investment. I think I'll leave it at that.
And what are the innovative initiatives that can be implemented in Namibia from what you said?
Well, that's a good question. Thank you. So we can look at it from 4 aspects. We can look at it from a sectoral, regional, and then obviously a country such as Namibia and how it fits within the African landscape. So sectorally, we're looking at like industries like ICT for one. If we have our proper infrastructures that are responsive enough to, for example, I think just of recent we have rolled out the Nomad digital visa for remote workers. So sectorally, if we're looking into ITC, we need to have supporting mechanisms to sustain such policy directives, which in line would obviously attract also foreign investments. So the lack thereof would also create a lot of barriers for digital workers that would like to be in Namibia to do their remote working activities. And then regionally, you're looking at also like, as it is like the landscape in Namibia, where we have a lot of centralized services that are in the commerce region that can be opened up to allow, for example, somebody who is sitting in Keetmanshoop to also have the same kind of, the same type of services that are available within Windhoek or the coastal part of the country. So paying attention to regional services, for example, that could also be a key indicator. And then nationally, how we fit into in comparison, how we fare in comparison to African countries, that could also be like a good point for us to leverage whatever initiatives that we're trying to roll out. So if we understand how all those sectors, for example, all fit into the knowledge system, knowledge economy, it would enable us to really drive out whatever national policies that we're going to roll out. And for me, sorry, just to complete, for me, the one that is really crucial, I feel it's the digital infrastructures that will sustain any type of policy directives that we're going to be rolling out as a country. And obviously the human capital that comes along with that.
So you mentioned about digitalization, and I think that is the main concern when it comes to especially rural areas. Yes. We are still not there yet. The infrastructure is still not there yet. Would you think it's an important aspect that needs to be looked into?
Yes, Of course. I mean, if we're trying to, I mean, just look at it from the most simplistic aspect, you know, financial instruments. If you're sending somebody an e-wallet and they have no basic understanding of how to, you know, how to take money off their cell phone, that is a barrier, and a barrier to having a system, like having a good life, for example, which is very simplistic. So it's not so much that it's not so much that it's impossible for us to get to that level, but going back again to what I said, educating people to understand the power of how such mechanisms can better their lives in the long run as well. For example, also telehealth. You know, if we are talking about having startups or ecosystems that are looking into rural communities where you don't have to go to a nearby hospital, where you can have remote visits by the touch of your smartphone. You know, doctors coming to visit rural communities. That requires a lot of educating. What are the benefits of having such kind of services available for people? And obviously, just like the speed of that happening as well, it all ties into really educating. I mean, education. So again, it is crucial. It is, I believe it is really important for,
So how can these innovation practices, you know, be incorporated in workplaces or universities?
Well, also a very good question. For one, the curricula needs to be completely reformed. And not completely reformed, but incorporating just like the services, the skills, the critical skills that are globally supposed to be, you're supposed to actually understand, like, for example, programming. We don't have a lot of emphasis within, for example, management disciplines that are focusing on programming skills, artificial intelligence, just understanding at the basic level, at least, just to prepare students, their mindsets towards, should they end up in any type of career that requires such kind of skills. So looking into the curricula, looking at the quality of the lecturers as well that are delivering certain lectures, the tools that they're using to also deliver their lectures, it's something that is also of crucial importance. For example, you can be communicating something that is very interesting, but if you communicate it in you lack enthusiasm, for example, you're going to lose your audience.
Of course.
So that is a soft skill that needs to be trained. So also looking into that would be very important. And then obviously, just like at a higher level, the governance of a certain tertiary institution, just how do they manage their knowledge system and knowledge within a university. And a knowledge system can look like an intranet, for example, for a university, where they have, for example, the internal colleagues communicating with one another. What type of knowledge are they sharing amongst one another? Are there any learning matrix between the colleagues that they have been held accountable for them to learn certain digital skills?
Yeah, and how can a strategy and innovation contribute to national prosperity?
Well, okay, so that ties in back again with just national prosperity would indicate that there is a conducive environment that would warrant any investor, be it an individual investor or an investor coming from a country perspective. Having a country such as Namibia that has citizens that understand the cruciality of having a knowledge-based economy, that's a good point to start off to attract a lot of foreign aid. And also just obviously the momentum of keeping such foreign aid. And for that to be sustained is obviously in the quality of the people that are at the forefront of such knowledge.
And lastly, Doctor, just in what ways do policies shape and support national innovation and investment?
Interesting question. How does it support it? Really just looking, okay, and this is obviously sectorally based as far as Namibia is concerned. The support is really just to ensure that I think we're sending a very loud message to a lot of African countries, for one, that we are trying to set ourselves apart as far as our knowledge-based economy is concerned. And the sustenance of that, going back again to what I said earlier, it's tying into the workforce, the quality of the workforce. So the sustenance of it is just having, supportive systems that can be able to I don't want to say, in layman's term, I would say, that they are responsive enough to uphold the policies that have been rolled out by the head of states and all the other government ministerial departments. You need good data infrastructures for you to be able to sustain that.